Welcome to another exciting episode of Inner Peace, Better Health. I'm your host, Arick, and today we have a remarkable, truly guest, Marco Houwen. Marco is a visionary leader who has journeyed from scaling global tech companies to pioneering spiritual intelligence in business leadership. Over the last 25 years, Marco has built a solid technology company empire that have shaped Luxembourg's and Europe's internet economy. But his story doesn't end there. Realizing that outward success did not equate to inner fulfillment, Marco embarked on a profound personal transformation. Today, he guides C level executives, entrepreneurs, and organizations to align cognitive, emotional, and spiritual intelligence for sustainable growth and innovation. Welcome, Marco.
Welcome, Eric. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a big pleasure and honor.
Yeah, Marco, can you tell us about the moment you realized that outward success wasn't bringing you inner fulfillment?
Well, it wasn't one single moment, and then
Uh-huh.
it was. So let me say it like that. Over years, I felt that something was missing. I felt that all this running behind external stuff was not giving me that what I wanted, and I wasn't doing anything else. And then probably end of April 2017, it hit me like a, a real lightning bolt. I was on a seminar, actually a seminar of Tony Robbins. Some of our listeners, your listeners might know him, and it was like I will finally find a way to live from what I really love to do. That was the statement. That's where the whole transformation started.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. And what were the first steps you took towards personal transformation?
There again, it's a journey, and I put the journey into two parts:
Hmm.
the unconscious and the conscious journey,
Yeah.
and this is on and off. Like I had a very conscious time beginning of the 2000s, where I literally thought I will do what I do today, but then I got into business,
Hmm.
and so it's not that if you're not working consciously on it, that you are not working on it, because your being is working on striving towards your own inner fulfillment. No, it doesn't show outside. Just don't worry. But sometimes when it is unconscious, it does. Most of the times, it doesn't. So it became conscious. Then the first steps I took when I after that moment I just described was I went out and I went home. It was a seminar. I went home and I started to contact the people around me and my co-founders, and back and forth said I want to get out.
Mm.
And that obviously was something which took literally years before it was done, and I was very adamant. And it was, so a lot of people told me that I'm crazy because I wanted to get out of everything.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to. But it was, for me, it was a cut. I needed to do that cut in my life.
Uh-huh.
And that cut allowed me to then start afresh.
Yeah. Wow. That's really wonderful. It's fascinating how like your journey of realization can change the course of our lives, and our journeys toward realization can change the course of our lives. And your journey is a powerful reminder that true success literally starts from within. So thank you for sharing that. You mentioned creating proprietary frameworks to help leaders achieve success without losing themselves. Can you elaborate on what these frameworks entail?
Yeah. So what happened is after that moment, I needed 2-3 years to declutter my mind so much that I could start to really think. Sounds crazy, but after that, I created two companies back and forth around mindfulness and so on. But it was never really what I needed to do, or what I felt that it's great. But it was always in this old framework of mine, or
Mm.
paradigm of mine, of needing to create companies all the time, needing to to show my face everywhere all the time. And so it came to a point where I said, okay, Marco, now it's enough. You need to really go deep within. And that was around 2020. And I said, okay, I, I want to create a brand which resembles me. So that's where Entrepreneur was born. Now, on the journey of creating the Entrepreneur and that brand, I had a friend, Christopher Luttrell, with whom I was bouncing off like almost daily conversations. And we had the most deep conversations over months. And we not only created a brand, but I started to structure my thoughts around personal development, personal leadership, company leadership. My experience I gathered over 20 years in building, buying, selling companies, and I started to bring all that into a framework, and also that framework. So that's why I say frameworks, because it started with one, which was obviously the one about the deep self, ourselves, about, I call it the eternal art of being.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, in our lives, now we're not talking business. Business came later, but this is really in our lives. Let's say we are having that need, and we are always getting sold on a ramp.
Yeah.
If you do this and this and this and this, then you are beautiful. If you do this and this and this, then you are rich, then you are enlightened, then you're whatever. And that ramp is always sold. That's how you. That's how good how financially successful coaches and speakers are doing their money. Now the challenge in that is that it doesn't work, or it only works for a very small subset of people. For most of us, what it is about is life is an infinity loop. It's the eight turned around, and it always starts and it always ends with our awareness. So it's like you want to change something in your life, Arick.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting aware of it. You cannot change what you don't know what you need to change. Stupid sentence, very true. So you need to be aware of it. But the moment you get aware of that, then you go through different steps in that journey, which are always the same.
Mm.
And the moment you know that, so another way of explaining it, I call it the map for life sometimes.
Mm.
Because it's not that you know exactly what will happen, but you know what will be the next stage you're getting in. After awareness comes acceptance and surrender, because you go through a phase of deep introspection, analyzing, very often bashing yourself up for whatever happened. And then comes the moment where you need to accept and surrender. Accept the reality as it is,
Yeah.
and surrender to it. So accept happens in the head,
Mm.
acceptance, and surrender happens in the heart. And that's where you switch. Then the switch is done. So you go into what I call remembering who you truly are. So you see something of yourself and you surrender. You see something, a capacity of yourself which you never saw before.
Mm.
And on that you build with faith, with the faith that you can do it. Maybe with faith, the big F, maybe with faith in God or the universe, but in anyhow, the faith that you are capable to do something bigger than you have done till now. And then you need the courage to make that happen. And then you need to make it happen. And then you need to celebrate it. And so and then you go back to awareness, because we are always, our journey never stops. So then we go back. And so it's always through this infinity loop where we create our life's experience. Now, this infinity loop today, so I created it as the basis of our the deep base for ourselves as human beings. But today I use it as the canvas to do company consulting. I use it as a canvas in innovation. I use it as a canvas in helping companies to define their identity. And so on, because it's always the same thing. It's always the same steps.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Wow, really. Have these frameworks impacted the leaders and organizations you have worked with? I mean, of course they have, but can you share an example like like a person or a company that you worked with, like a personal sort of an example for our listeners.
Yeah, so obviously I cannot talk about names in this
Sure.
state. So, uh, but yeah, a lot of them. I work with an executive, a former executive in the humanitarian world. Literally, somebody who was dropped in South Sudan, and said, "Okay, let's organize the government again." Like this kind of level of people, and he decided to create his own company. Now, being who he is and having that experience, he knows that the classical success story doesn't really work for him, huh? Because he was about giving all the time. But then again, he needs to combine uh, his doing or his material side with his spiritual side. And that's what this accomplished. So what we do is we go from one angle, from one side to the other, whenever whatever is needed. And so it's something which is very powerful, very personal, because it's very personal conversations. And so that's one example. Uh, Taking another one where I work with a British entrepreneur. He created his company, is about to raise money, but also has some quite deep uh, personal challenges in his life, and we literally link it to his faith. There, what I want to say by all that, and I can go on with examples, but the most important thing is that we got taught that there is a barrier between our material and our spiritual world. And there is a separation, but there is no separation. And only if we start to accept that there is none, can we really find happiness. Because, or contentment, whatever you want to call it, joy. But as long as we see it as separate, well, we will be material, and then we will have, like, sometimes we'll have a meditation, and it's like, it needs to become a whole, because we can only become whole if these two aspects, the duality aspect and the non-duality aspect, becomes aligned with each other.
Wow. Come on. The idea of aligning cognitive, emotional, spiritual intelligence is like so intriguing, and it seems like a holistic approach to leadership. That's really wonderful. During your
Yeah.
yeah, please go
Sorry.
ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, maybe so I didn't go there because that's one of the parts of the framework I didn't talk about. But with AI coming up, and AI now literally taking white collar jobs every day,
Yeah.
we're really in a situation today where I call it the biggest human existentiality crisis or identity crisis ever. Because for 500 years, since Descartes, we were told that I think, so I am.
Yeah.
Now I think, but I don't think fast enough and not good enough.
Yeah.
Because the machine does it better. So cognitive intelligence, which was measured by IQ, was the nec plus ultra of everything, like how we measure the worth of a human being.
Yeah.
But now, how relevant is that still?
Hmm.
So the good thing here is that we as human beings, we don't have only cognitive intelligence. We have also an emotional intelligence, a capacity to understand and to link to our emotions and to others' emotions, to manage our own and others' emotions. But even that is great, but there is another layer, and that's spiritual intelligence. It's the fact that all this emotional intelligence, cognitive intelligence is actually linked to something bigger than ourselves. And accessing, it's the alignment in another way. So it's like what I explained with the perceived separation a few seconds ago. It's like it's explained in another way, from cognitive to spiritual intelligence. It doesn't work. It's like it doesn't work without the one without the other. I call it, there need to be an aligned intelligence. Like everybody has his own fingerprint of aligned intelligence. That's how much cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, uh, spiritual intelligence you're using in your daily life.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. During your transition from the tech industry to spiritual intelligence, what were some of the biggest challenges that you would like to share with our audience? And of course, the steps that you took um, to overcome them.
But the biggest challenge is to face yourself.
Yeah, that's so
As soon
true.
as you start, to get out of a paradigm. I started this. Let me just think how long. So I was 47, 47 years old. I was like, that's a lot of baggage. That's a lot of what I call external conditioning, which was on me. And so you need to face that. And you need to be ready to face it. That's why not so many people are doing it. That's why I am not having thousands of customers.
Yeah,
Because it is not something everybody is ready to do, which is totally fine. But it
yeah,
isn't it, the introspection and the ongoing and never ending introspection is it's the basis of the capacity of growing into an aligned intelligence being, as I call it.
yeah. Wow. I mean, it's really true. And irrespective of what field you are in, the biggest challenge is to face yourself because I'm in a creative field and I love creating movies, songs, and I just love writing. But I remember 4 years ago I wanted to compose a song, and I don't know what was going on in my mind, but I was just thinking how I would do it and how I would come off to audience, and it was just so I don't know, I don't have words to describe, but it was just so fearful. It was just so an anxious. The whole thought was used to give me so much of anxiety. And one of the things that we don't realize when we face any sort of challenge is that we have to face ourselves. Because I believe that you do not have to go out looking for your enemies, but if you yourself are your biggest enemy.
I I can absolutely agree with you, and I was my biggest enemy, and
Uh,
that still sometimes pops up because I'm on my journey, but it's
uh,
way less. And so I did, yeah, I created so much of
mm,
my new identity over time, and just looking at it and facing it and accepting, as that's why I said acceptance and surrender. It's like it's easy to accept something somebody has done to you. It's
yeah,
not easy to accept what you have done to yourself.
yeah.
It's
Wow.
really more difficult. And then as said, acceptance always happens in the head. It's a
It
cognitive
is.
thing.
It
But
is.
surrender is in the heart. That's a deep emotional, even spiritual thing. Because at one moment in time you just say, hey, I cannot, that hatred, that whatever, that frustration, that anger, whatever I'm holding on to, I cannot put that together anymore with me, with my emotional intelligence, but also with my spiritual intelligence. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't it doesn't allow me to grow anymore. But if I'm not aware that I grow inside as much as I can grow outside, well, then
Mhm.
I don't care. So I just say, okay, whatever. I hate this guy. In my workshops I talk a lot about forgiveness. This is where people hurt the most on. Yeah, but I cannot forgive. And I tell them, yeah, great, but you're not forgiving somebody else. You are forgiving so that you find your peace inside.
Yeah, so good. You are
And
not forgiving for others or for them, but you are forgiving for yourself.
yes, nobody tells you you need to have to celebrate Christmas with this guy the rest of your life. But
Mhm.
if you just let it go, that's great.
Yeah.
That's what it needs because that frees you. Again, after surrender comes the remembering. You see something of yourself you didn't see before. And that works as much for your company when you let go, when you accept the fact, for example, as a company that you're not an an innovative company because you see what you can innovate in afterwards when you accept the fact you are not.
Yeah.
So you're not holding on to the lie. But we are always, as human beings, we love to hold on to the lie because the lie is expected and accepted outside of us in our society.
Yeah. This reminds me of a recent incident that happened in my life, and I would love to share that with you. What and with our listeners, of course. Recently, I was done bad by a friend, and that friend was not just a friend, but more like a brother. He was more than a best friend, and we have not been talking since the last. I mean, it's been on and off, but we used to meet daily, and we used to go out and have food. And I know it's nothing, it's not related to the business world, but it's something that reminded me of when you talked about forgiveness. And this 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 person that did me wrong, I was so offended at him, and I did not realize it was coming back to me as a burden. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I was sharing this incident, one of my dearest friends. And I was sharing this incident, and I was sharing about this person, that this person did me wrong. And I was showing some of the chats, my messages with this person, and they noticed that I'm giving so much respect to this person. And then my friend asked me, why the heck are you giving so much respect to this person? He does not deserve it. He is this, he is that, he did you wrong, and he did. And the simple answer that I gave to my friend was, I'm not doing this for him, but I'm doing this for myself. Because I know if I hold an offense in my heart against this person, if I hold a prejudice against this person, it will harden my heart, and it will become impossible for me to give to others, and to love others, and to be generous towards others, and to be kind, and to be nice. But it would actually steal a part of me, if that makes sense. So
I- Absolutely, Arick, and I congratulate you for that maturity because that's really tough thing. But it's why should I lose myself because of somebody? Why should that somebody wrongs me? Why should I give him even a part of my identity? Why should I give up a part of my identity for him?
yeah.
Why should I? I give him more than if you say, and then it becomes me doing the wrong to myself.
Mm. Yeah, that's so true. Well,
So we doing and that works. It's like in companies, it works wonders. If you understand that concept, say companies, but we just discuss in private environment. But in companies, if you understand that concept and your company understands that concept, you grudges will go away. You start to create effectiveness you never had before. Or as a leader, when I give that tool to a leader, and he really understands it, it creates wonders.
mm, wow. Well, thank you so much, Marco, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your stories was testament to the power of aligning our inner and outer worlds to achieve true success. And to our listeners, if you found this conversation as enlightening as I did, be sure to connect with Marco and explore his frameworks for integrating cognitive, emotional, and spiritual intelligence. Remember, the journey to inner peace and better health starts with a single step. Take action today, and let's walk this path together. Until next time, stay inspired and keep striving for better health.